Hey, I'm Rex, and this is my review of Godzilla Raids again. I actually just watched this movie for the first time ever. I took notes on my phone, and as you can see, I had quite a lot to say. You can see it ends with 5.5 out of 10, but that's I don't really do like scores here, but that's kind of up front how I felt as soon as the credits rolled. But I actually have a lot to say about this movie, and it actually, I think one of the first things that I'll say about it is that it wasn't nearly as bad as I thought it was going to be. I've not really heard anything about this movie before. I've known it exists. But I have seen plenty of YouTube thumbnails that say that like this is the worst Godzilla movie. I don't think that it is. But I think that probably what hurts this movie the most is following the original. You know, the original is like a titan, piece of media. It's one of the most influential movies ever, and then it's followed up by this. And I'm actually gonna go through the plot of this movie. And, I'm going to kind of summarize it the best I can. I'm going to try not to yap for 30 minutes like I did the first time I did a review on this channel for Gojira or Godzilla King of the Monsters. I'm going to try to not yap for 30 minutes. But I am going to kind of run through the plot because, I feel like there's probably a lot of people that haven't seen this film, and maybe you don't want to. Maybe you don't feel like going out of your way to watch it. So I'm just going to tell you what it is and give you some of my thoughts as I go, and then wrap it up. But up front, I think you can tell that I thought this movie was okay. There were some things that I enjoyed. I don't regret watching it. This is a poor follow-up to the original, in my opinion. But it was kind of fun. And yeah, I think that's kind of like my general thoughts up front. Let's kind of jump into the actual movie though. So this came out April 24th, 1955. So this film came out like pretty quick after the original. All I knew is that this was a sequel to the original. It's the first time they introduce a new monster. They introduce Anguirus, and this is the first time that there's a monster versus monster fight in Godzilla. It was called Gigantis, the fire monster in the United States, apparently. I watched this in Japanese with English subtitles. One of the first things that stood out to me in this film, and this remained the entire way through it, was the music. The music is just not anywhere near as good as the original. I don't want to sound like an asshole because it's not bad music, and I don't think that it deserves to be, spoken ill of. But the first Godzilla movie is like super iconic in terms of its soundtrack. Like there's so many great sounds and so many great songs in that soundtrack, and this one just doesn't touch it at all. So that was one of the first things that stood out to me, and it kind of made this movie at times feel like it had a lower budget. I'd actually love to see what the budget was for this film, and I'm gonna actually look that up real quick. What was the budget? Sorry, hold on. For Godzilla 1954 versus Godzilla Raids Again. So I just kind of want to see what the budget was for this compared to the original. Because I'm curious to see if there was a lower budget here. But yeah, the music definitely was not as strong. So Godzilla, the original, around $900,000 or 1.5 million total is the expected, and then Godzilla Raids Again, it's harder to pin down. Gojipedia lists it as 1 million plus yen, which is around the original, like 64 million yen, and this was a million yen, so 101 million yen, and this is 1 million yen? Suspiciously low. Huh. So, yeah, it's hard to actually get the specifics, but apparently this had a lower budget. It definitely seemed that way. at least with like the music and even with like the quality of some of the filming. More of this is also done in daylight, which I think kind of hurts the like how you would interpret the suits and things like that. But hold on one second, I need to turn off my phone, like the going to sleep. This is killing the video, isn't it? I'm not gonna start over again. I'm just not doing that. Anyway, I want the auto lock off of my phone so that I can keep this up. Anyway, so it seemed lower budget. Apparently it is. Gojipedia listed as over 1 million yen, but the first one was around 101 million yen. So I don't know how there's such a huge gap there. But apparently people can't nail it down. Anyway, the music just wasn't as good. The director was Motoyoshi Oda. Sorry if I say any of the names wrong, which that's for every video I ever do. This was his only Godzilla film that he directed. So it starts off with a character named Tsukioka, I think. I'm probably saying that wrong. He's a plane pilot, and he is basically out helping fishing boats locate schools of fish to fish. And he is speaking to another protagonist of the film, Hidemi, or Hideme. I'm not really sure again, I'm sorry. She's at control, basically, and she's the one that he's communicating back and forth with about where the fish are. They're your couple of this film. And immediately, you think of the couple in the original film, which was Serizawa, Ogata, and the girl's name is not coming to me. I really suck with names. I'm sorry. But anyway, you had this like really well written, really like deep love triangle in the first film that like meant so much. It was such a big part of the film, and it was done so well. It was treated as like really serious, and I think it was pretty easy for the audience to connect with it. Not so much here, although this isn't terrible. They are a couple. I think they're engaged, but that's not revealed until way later. Anyway, they flirt a little bit. It's kind of cute, kind of wholesome. He's helping her, he's helping locate fish. It also shows another pilot who is another main character. These are like your three main characters you're being introduced to. The other pilot is Kobayashi. He is doing the same thing as our main character. I'm just going to call him our main character so I don't have to butcher his name so many times in this video. And he starts to experience trouble with his plane. He lands his plane on an island. I think it's Iwato Island. And, our main character goes there to, help him, make sure he's okay, find him, get him out of there. He lands on the island, too. And there they discover Godzilla battling Anguirus. And it's like immediate. So they are on the island surrounded by mountains, and all of a sudden they hear like this rumbling, and they look over, and over the mountain you just see Godzilla and Anguirus, and they're already like locked in combat. And so they fight each other until they fall into the ocean, and that gives the guys a moment to get to their planes and escape. And the first thing that I was thinking is, okay, what is going to be their excuse for Godzilla to be back? Because he was like obliterated by the oxygen destroyer in the first film. So are they going to say that there's another Godzilla? Are they going to say that he resurrected? Are they going to like try to retcon his death? Like, what are they going to do? And it turns out that they go with there's more than one Godzilla. So that's what they go with for this film. And they say that basically the hydrogen bomb, it may have mutated or, awoken more than one Godzilla, and Anguirus also, a prehistoric dinosaur who also was awakened by the hydrogen bomb testing. So that's what they go with. So then we go to a big meeting in Osaka where Dr. Yamane from the first film is back. It was really cool to see a character come back from the first film. If anyone else came back, I just am not like, I'm not familiar enough with the older characters or the actors that play them in the older Godzilla movies. I'm not familiar with them enough to like recognize them. But anyway, they're holding a big meeting and they're trying to decide what they're going to do about Godzilla and Anguirus. And Dr. Yamane just seems like he has PTSD from the first film, which, I get it. He's just super depressed, basically. And, everybody's like looking to him like, what are we going to do? And he's like, I don't have a plan. Like, we don't have any plan. Like, and then they just sit there for like 5 minutes and they watch, the original film. Basically, they show some footage of Godzilla destroying Tokyo, and it's footage from the first film. And he reveals something that's pretty interesting. I don't think I've ever heard this like piece of lore in any of the other films, but he says that Godzilla is sensitive to light. He has a reaction to light, which is kind of interesting, especially with the first film mostly taking place at night, Godzilla mostly appearing at night. And so the only plan that they come up with is that they might use flares to draw Godzilla away from the mainland if he comes to Osaka. And so that's it for that. Let's see. They also make a point to say that Anguirus attacked Godzilla from behind. Our pilots report that, Anguirus attacked Godzilla from behind on the island. I thought that was strange because I was like, okay, are they trying to set Godzilla up as possibly like a good guy or the good guy in this fight or something? It doesn't end up going anywhere, but it was kind of interesting because when they show the fight, they were already fighting. And they were facing each other. I never got the feeling Anguirus jumped Godzilla from behind. So that kind of made me wonder if there was a change there or if there was some footage that was edited out or changed. I just thought that was curious. Let's see what else. We have a nice romance scene with our main characters, talking. A lot of flirting, a lot of focusing on relationships in this movie. You see that, our main character and the girl, I think Hidemi, let's just move on. They have a really cool relationship, flirty, wholesome, they're in love. It's never really that deep or like focused on that much. And then Kobayashi is like the kind of goofball buddy friend that wants to meet a girl, but he hasn't yet, and he's trying to figure out like, well, how can I meet a girl? How can I find a wife? So that's kind of a running theme through the film that we'll kind of circle back to later. So anyway, they do a search for Godzilla to see if he's around Osaka. They don't see Godzilla anywhere. It looks like, they show Godzilla kind of coming into like the Bay Area, like he's spotted out in the water or whatever. But then he kind of disappears. So everybody's like, okay, he's not coming. It doesn't look like he's coming. So then you have like a ballroom dancing scene with the couple, the main characters. They're, out at like a nice like ballroom dance club or whatever, and they're dancing and everybody's having a really nice time, and all of a sudden Godzilla shows up, and this kind of made me laugh. There's actually a couple of scenes in this that made me laugh. This is one of them because he basically just trolled these people. Like, he was heading for Osaka, he turns like he's going somewhere else, and so they're thinking, okay, everything is good, and then he turns at the last minute, comes back, and does show up at Osaka. So I thought that was kind of funny because he basically just trolled them. We'll talk about the suit a little bit. So, man, it's really weird because the quality of the film itself like seems lower at a lot of times, even though like the first one didn't seem that good. There's something about this that does seem lower budget. However, a lot of it does take place during the day, which kind of exposes weaknesses in like set design and stuff like that. Godzilla shows up during the day, and I think it's during the day. It's kind of hard to tell since it's black and white, because even in the night shots, it'll be brighter than it normally would be at night so that you can see. So sometimes it's kind of hard for me to tell. But anyway, Godzilla shows up. They show him on camera, and I swear to God, I'm probably going to use this in the thumbnail because he has the goofiest face. His teeth are like sticking out like, ugh. Like, it's not even like this. His teeth are like, ugh, like just, It's so goofy. You'll probably see it in the thumbnail if I can get a picture of it. In fact, I think I literally took a picture of it on my phone, and I'll show it to you if I can. Look at this. Look at him. Look at. I took this picture, and it just made me laugh. And here's another one. This is later in the film, but as you can see, it's not the best suit. And he comes off looking quite goofy at times. And I think that one of the things that worked in the original film is how many of the scenes were shot in on a dark set late at night, or just in darkness in general. And so you can't really see it that well, and so it hides some of the flaws, and then your imagination fills in the gap, and your imagination makes it better than it actually is. Here, like during the day, some of this looks pretty goofy, and it did get a laugh out of me during some of the more serious scenes. But I also want to say that the destruction was way better. Like, a lot of the destruction scenes and the explosions in this movie, I thought were better than in the original. So that's what I mean when I say, like, I'm wanted to look at the budget, because some parts of it seemed lower budget, but other parts of it seemed higher budget. Some of the destruction, his encounter with the army, explosions, with buildings and destruction in general, a lot of it was definitely better than the first film, and looked, of a higher quality, with some other lower quality stuff mixed in at times. So that was a little bit confusing, but overall, his suit here, his suit may have even looked better overall in this film. It may have even been a higher quality in this film than the first film, but I think because it's a brighter film and it's more well lit and more of it happens during the day, I think that kind of hurts it in a way, because a lot of the like kind of goofy imperfections of the suit show more, and so you have to kind of actively suppress that harder to like really get immersed in the film. It's not a big deal, but it is what it is. Still liked it. Let's see. Okay, so here is where we get to the cannery. So Godzilla shows up in Osaka, and when he gets there, our main characters, the guy and the girl that are dating, I just want to say their names so bad. Tsukioka and Hidemi. I feel terrible just calling them main characters and like boyfriend and girlfriend and guy and girl, but then I try to say their names and I hate myself even more. It's so weird. Anyway, let me get back to where I was in my notes. So he takes her to her father's place. The father's not there, it's their home or whatever. They split up. He leaves her at home on a mountain, she's safe, and then he goes to like the fishing cannery for the company that he works for, to catch fish and stuff like that, where he's like the pilot, right? So that's where the girl's father is. So the father's also his boss. And so he goes there to check on the father, make sure the father's safe. And then when we cut to the cannery, the father's there. Everything is okay. They end up using the flares. They black out Osaka. So this was another thing. They said that this is another part of his sensitivity to light. Basically, they wanted to use light to distract him. So they black out the whole city when Godzilla shows up. They black out the city, and then they start launching flares over the water in the ocean. Godzilla turns around and starts to leave. So it looks like everything is going to be okay. Excuse me, I'm having a little rosé. It's like midnight, and I went out to a dinner at a sushi bar, so that's kind of why I look like this. So anyway, I'm all used up and done for the day. So now you're at the cannery, and the boyfriend, our main character, Tsukioka, I think, is on his way to the cannery. Now, this is where things get, like, really weird. Like, this comes so out of left field. They cut to a police transport, and they're transporting some prisoners. And so there's like 6 prisoners in the back of this police vehicle, and they're transporting them, and the prisoners attack the police in the vehicle. The police stop the vehicle. The prisoners break out and escape. They start running. There's a big shootout between them. And suddenly it seems like there's like 15 of these criminals running away, but there was like 6 in that van, so I don't know. And there's this big shootout, and I'm just sitting here going, what? Like, it's another thing that happens in this film is that the tone kind of shifts rapidly at times. Like, it goes from like somber to like jokey to like romantic and wholesome to like destruction. So all of a sudden we're doing this cops and robbers like shootout. They're running from the police. They end up hijacking a truck, and they go off in the truck. I'm not sure if it's like one of those. It's not an 18-wheeler, but it's a big truck, like a work truck. Maybe it's full of gas or something, and I missed it. It looks like it could be one of those trucks. They grab one of those and they take off in it. And I'm wondering what is the point of this scene? Well, it turns out that the point of it is that along comes our main character. And maybe Kobayashi, I'm not sure who's in the passenger seat. But anyway, he's driving on his way to the cannery, and the police stop him and are like, follow. They don't even commandeer the vehicle. They hop in the back, and they tell him, follow that vehicle, follow that truck. So now he's chasing the robbers for the cops in the back seat. And the robbers go straight to the cannery, which is convenient. So the chase goes straight to the cannery, where the robbers lose control of their vehicle and crash into all of this equipment, pipelines, storage, and it causes a huge fiery explosion. And it cuts to Godzilla, who's like on his way back out to sea, and there's a huge fire explosion behind him, and he's like, huh? And he's like, oh, well, don't mind if I do. He turns around. These motherfuckers. So Godzilla just turns around and comes to the cannery and just starts wrecking shit. And I will say that like this scene was pretty fucking awesome. He destroys this part of the island. Several times, multiple times, they cut from where he's destroying the area around the cannery. All of our characters survive, by the way. Main character survives, dad survives, they're okay. Everything gets destroyed by Godzilla, though. But they cut to Hidemi, I think, and they cut to her at her dad's house, and she can see, like, across the island on the other side of the water where the cannery is. And it's just, it looks like a nuclear bomb or something went off there. I mean, it's just, you look and it's just like the night sky is full of like smoke and just fire, and it was pretty awesome for 1955. I was really impressed with these scenes. I thought they did a really good job with the cannery attack scene. I thought it was great. Let's see. I should talk about his breath. I can't believe I didn't talk about Godzilla's breath in the first video. We're at 23 minutes. I'm sorry. I didn't talk about his breath, but I think we all know what Godzilla's breath looked like in the original film. It's the same here. It's like that white spray, almost like an aerosol can spray, that just kind of melts things and burns things. You don't really see huge explosions. It's usually just like a heat ray setting everything on fire. So he's got that same breath here as well. And also, let's see. There was one other thing I wanted to point out. I like the way that they shot some of these scenes here, because you know how in Godzilla films they like to have these like miniature sets where everything basically just looks like a toy or like Legos or whatever, and then they shoot it and try to make it look like it's a big huge building, but it's really like a tiny set, right? They mix in a lot of those scenes with actual like buildings and actual big scenes, and they also film big areas in the movie that look like real areas, real cities, but they film it the same way, kind of like zoomed out, like in this, I don't know if you'd call it aspect ratio or whatever, but it makes it kind of look like the real set is also, it has those dimensions, also looks smaller. And so I think that they did a really good job of like blending that with the like small scenes where all the cars and planes and stuff are just like basically like toys and props. They do a really good job of kind of blending that footage in and out, and I really liked that. I appreciated that. I felt like it made it easier to kind of not have your immersion broken so hard, so I liked that. Anguirus shows up. Godzilla and Anguirus fight immediately. They have a pretty big fight here. There's not really much that you can do with Anguirus. He's kind of like a dog. He's just scratching and biting Godzilla. And Godzilla's like wrestling him. I did laugh multiple times where they're kind of like falling all over each other wrestling. Kind of does look like a dog attack, I'm not gonna lie. But I thought it was, I think they did the best that they could with this. Like, Anguirus is like, he has two weapons, claw teeth, and that's pretty much it. He doesn't use the spines on his back for anything in this film. So, it's pretty simple stuff, but it's entertaining. It's funny to watch the actors falling around on the set while they're making the scene, recording it. One thing that I thought was kind of cool is that at one point Godzilla uses his heat ray and he sprays Anguirus straight in the face, eyes open. Like, Anguirus just tanks the breath right in the face with his eyes open, and he just tanks it, bro. Like, everything explodes around them, everything's on fire around them. Anguirus, shrugs it off and keeps fighting. I thought that was pretty impressive, honestly. Impressive fire and destruction. I was also, they do that thing they do in older movies where they speed up the footage of the fighting, and so like there's these moments where it kind of looks like it's like a Three Stooges comedy thing. Like it I laughed a lot during these scenes, but it just is what it is. They destroy Osaka Castle during this, which was kind of crazy seeing that for the first time. And then Godzilla bites Anguirus on the neck, and I mean, he gets him right on the back of the neck, and he's just like going to town and just ripping his neck up, and there's like blood pouring out of Anguirus's neck, and he then kicks Anguirus off a cliff into the bay below, so he falls into like Osaka Bay or whatever, and then Godzilla hits him with his breath on his back and just sets him on fire. It was pretty sick. I didn't think that he was going to just kill Anguirus like this, but he does. Like, he bites him on the neck, Anguirus is bleeding out, he kicks him into the water and then sprays him with his breath, and he just explodes into fire, and Godzilla's just like, all right, I'm out, peace, and that's it. Like, I was kind of like, damn, like, I thought that was pretty cool. And this went on for a while, too. Like, this destruction scene in Osaka is, like, the main, like in the first film, Godzilla appears, like, 4 times, right? Like, twice on, Odo Island. There's the big attack, then he shows his face for the first time, then he shows up at Tokyo Bay, then he shows up and, like, really goes, like, destroys Tokyo. You don't really get that here. You get, like, one basic big attack in Osaka, but it does go for a while, and it was pretty good. All the main characters survive. Godzilla disappears after beating Anguirus, and they don't know where he's at. This is where they reveal that the main characters are engaged. Also, this was a big contrast to the first film. After the huge attack on Tokyo, you kind of see the aftermath where it's just like children crying and parents crying over the bodies of their loved ones, and people are like bleeding, and like they definitely did not want to go as hard with this film, and I don't know what the reason for that is. If anybody knows, you can let me know in the comments. I don't really know why they didn't want to go as dark. I'm not against it, it's okay, but after the attack on Osaka, when they show our main characters again, they're kind of like more upbeat, and a little bit more jovial and joking with each other. And, it's just like a happier, lighter tone. The destruction to Osaka is never treated with the kind of weight that Tokyo was given in the first film. It's never treated as that serious. And I could see that putting a lot of people off. I would have preferred a somber tone like the first movie, sure, but, I did already get that, so, it just is what it is. I just noticed the difference, but I was, just kind of rolling with it. Let's see. So the main characters survive. They're pretty wholesome, joking, jovial. Like it'll be all right. We're gonna rebuild. Not a big deal. Blah blah blah. And then it just kind of flash forwards. It like fast forwards, or we get a forward flash, whatever. I'm stumbling over words that don't matter. To winter. So now it's snowing. It's winter. I don't know how far in the future. If I had to guess, it might be a few weeks or a few months. It's kind of hard to tell. So now it's winter. And we've moved locations. We're in another city called Hokkaido, and the father of the main character's girlfriend also owns a cannery in Hokkaido. So he's there. He's working. Kobayashi goes out to that cannery, while our couple main characters they stay in Osaka and they help out in Osaka. This is when we get more Kobayashi, and Kobayashi spends a lot of time basically talking about how bad he wants to meet a girl, how bad he wants to have a wife. He's really interested in basically getting a bride. Everybody calls him the groom or Mr. Groom. He's becomes his nickname at work and stuff, and people constantly are joking about him, finding a bride. They build this up a lot, which is a little bit of foreshadowing of like, oh, this could be kind of tragic. But we also go quite a while with No Godzilla. Like they spend some time with this, which I think is also very interesting. Like the tone whiplash. Like you go from seeing Godzilla to long periods without Godzilla. You get the big Osaka attack, and it's like this is like the biggest attack right here. This is he levels Osaka in this fight with Anguirus, and then afterwards, it's like not really that serious. In fact, we just kind of leave Osaka behind. We just throw it away. We don't stick around for any of like the fallout. We just go to another location, and then we're like, the story revolves around this guy who wants a girlfriend. It's really weird. The pacing and the tone shifting is kind of all over the place, and I don't think it did the movie any favors personally. I think this movie is sitting at like a 64% on Rotten Tomatoes. I don't know if I mentioned that earlier, and I can see why. Not that I hate it or anything like that, but I can see why. So what else? So Kobayashi's joking about girls. He wants to, meet a bride. He wants to get a girlfriend. He goes to a dinner party. So Hidemi and Tsukioka, God, I suck with their names. The couple comes to Hokkaido. There's a scene where, they show Kobayashi out flying, and he's back to doing the thing, helping them find fish and stuff like that. And it's really nice and wholesome. Afterwards, they're going to have a big party, kind of, it seems like, almost for Kobayashi. So the cannery makes reservations at like a restaurant. Basically, they're gonna have a big party, lots of drinking, and they're gonna celebrate Mr. Groom finding a bride. And he does reveal that he's been kind of talking to a girl, and maybe something will come of it. He's trying to woo her, but he doesn't want to reveal who it is. And he's got a little notebook where he like keeps like notes, and obviously probably pictures of her and stuff like that. Main characters come back to Hokkaido. They're done in Osaka. They all meet up at this dinner party. They have the dinner party. It ends up getting interrupted because a fishing boat is sunk by Godzilla during the dinner party. I think it's also worth mentioning that our main character ends up meeting some friends that surprise him there, and they were friends of his in college, and they served in the war together. They were pilots in the war together. So you end up finding that out about our main character and his friends, who are presumably still with the military. Then our main character, Tsukioka, he goes out in his plane to search for Godzilla. A ship has been sunk. They don't know where Godzilla's at. So he's out flying around searching for Godzilla. And while he's doing that, we focus on a scene with his girlfriend and then Kobayashi. You know, the girlfriend is doing her thing. She's at control, so she's radioing back and forth with the main character while he's looking for Godzilla. She tells him, hey, you need to come on back. His fuel's getting low and all this, but he wants to keep searching, so they go back and forth over that. He keeps searching. And then we focus on Kobayashi for a little while. He's asking relationship advice from the girl. Anyway, you know, a little bit more character development with Kobayashi wanting to find a girlfriend. And then our main character spots Godzilla, but he spots Godzilla and immediately needs to fly back into control. He's running out of like fuel, etc. So Kobayashi rushes out to basically switch with him to replace him. He's going to keep an eye on Godzilla, and Tsukioka is going to come on back to control, or the cannery or whatever. And when Kobayashi leaves, he accidentally like forgets his little book with his little notes and stuff in it. And Hidemi ends up finding it and seeing like the picture of the girl that he's been talking to, and you know, it's cute. So anyway, the pilots switch places. They find Godzilla. He pursues Godzilla. Godzilla goes to an island. Let's see. Okay, so Godzilla swims to an island, goes onto an island. Kobayashi's watching him. Main character goes back, meets with the rest of the military, including his buddies from college. They're all discussing like a plan on what they're going to do. So they come up with this plan to trap Godzilla on the island in an inlet. So Godzilla has swam into an inlet. The rest of the island is like surrounds it. There's one way in, one way out. And they're like, basically, if we can, you know, drop bombs and trap Godzilla in that inlet, you know, we'll defeat him. You know, he'll be trapped there. He can't hurt us anymore. So that's their plan. Let's see. At this point, the biggest threat to their plan is that, you know, obviously if Godzilla leaves that inlet before they can get there and bomb it, then they've missed their window. So Kobayashi starts kind of distracting Godzilla by flying around him. And at that point, I'm thinking like, oh man, like, are they going to kill Kobayashi here? But they don't. He successfully distracts Godzilla long enough for the military to get there and start dropping bombs. Man, this is a really long, like, synopsis, isn't it? I'm sorry. Anyway, the plan doesn't work because they just start dropping a ton of bombs at Godzilla's feet. I don't know what they were trying to do here. They start dropping these bombs at Godzilla's feet, and they're like, oh, the plan's not working. Well, yeah, it's not working. Like, what were you trying to do? Did you want him to fall into like the center of the earth or something? Or were you trying to create a hole for him to fall into? Like, it doesn't make any sense. Obviously, if they want to trap him, they need to drop the bombs on like the mountainside around Godzilla. But for some reason, like, nobody connects the dots. It was just weird. Like, I'm not trying to be mean, but I just don't know what they wanted to happen. They just drop a bunch of bombs around Godzilla's feet, you know, on flat land, so nothing really happens there to trap him. So the plan's not working. Now, here we go. Kobayashi sees that the plan isn't working, and he charges Godzilla with his plane. I'm not sure why. I'm not really sure what you know, if he was just like exhausted and couldn't think of anything else to do, if he was like maybe trying to distract Godzilla more. I'm not really sure why he did it, but he charges at Godzilla. Godzilla hits his plane with his breath. The plane goes past Godzilla. Kobayashi crashes into the mountain, which triggers a small avalanche. And first of all, Kobayashi's death, you know, you would think that like viewers would see that and be like, oh my God, and have an immediate reaction to the way it's been built up and it's so tragic. And then our main characters go, oh, and then they see the avalanche and they're like, oh, this is our chance. We can get him. Like, if we can bomb the mountainside or hit the mountainside with missiles, then we can trap Godzilla. And they just move on immediately. And like I understand that there's like some cultural differences between America and Japan, and that, you know, especially at the time, like maybe it was, you know, the men were not very emotional, didn't show a lot of emotion. But you know, the first Godzilla film showed so much emotion, and it capitalized on, you know, moments of tragedy and empathy. And when the viewer is supposed to be feeling those things, the movie like moves with that and accentuates that, and like it builds on it and makes those moments like so memorable. Here they don't do any of that. So I understand that, like, you know, maybe our characters would not show a ton of emotion, but I just feel like you've built this up, the sacrifice happens, you know, now's your moment to take advantage of it. You know, your viewers should be feeling something when Kobayashi dies, and you just move on like that. I thought that was maybe a misstep personally. Again, I'm not Japanese. I'm not familiar with their culture, so you know, maybe there's something that I'm missing. But even with cultural differences, I just feel like the first film did not waste opportunities to capitalize on like huge emotional moments and payoffs, and I feel like this one did, in like maybe one of the maybe the most important moment of the film. So the military says, okay, we need to go back. We need to fly all the way back, and then we need to load up our planes with missiles, come back, and then we're going to do this like suicide mission, basically, where we fly directly at the mountain, shoot it with the missiles, and then try to pull up without hitting the tip of the mountain. And they build it up like, you know, like it's you know, your chances of survival are really, really low. Of course, our main character, he sees his buddy's gonna go on this, and he's like, I want to go too. I want to fly too. I want to do this too. And they're like, okay, but you know, it's, you know, chances of death are high. He's like, I want to do it, so he goes. During this, I think there's two things that stood out to me. One was, you know, like, I don't know how long it took to like fly, come up with this plan, you know, load up the weapons and then fly back, but Godzilla's just still there in that inlet, which, you know, I'm sure they've been distracting him, I guess. And then they come back and, you know, they start attacking the mountain, shooting the missiles at the mountain, which, by the way, I think I counted one, maybe two actual pilots hit the mountain out of like 15. So, you know, they made it seem like a suicide mission, and I was like, oh man, are they going to kill the main character too? It's not even close. Like, they all just shoot their missiles and fly. Like, most of them that die because Godzilla hit them with his breath or something. Although, one cool moment in this, Godzilla catches one of the planes with his bare hand, and I thought that was sick. Like, one of the planes is flying by him, and he catches it with his bare hand and just spikes it like he just scored a touchdown. He just spikes it right on the ground. I thought that was really fucking cool, to be honest with you. But yeah, it ends up not even being an issue. They shoot the mountain, and it starts burying Godzilla. This whole area is a little like wild, you know, because in order to keep Godzilla from leaving the inlet, because the whole time I'm like, well, Godzilla, why wouldn't Godzilla just walk away from the avalanche, right? Their plan is they load up the front of the beach, like they block it off with a wall of like red barrels. So if you play video games, you know what's up. They shoot the red barrels, they explode. It's a wall of fire, but it's like a wall of fire that's like 15 feet high. And like Godzilla walks through this all the time. He walked through walls of fire earlier in the movie in Osaka. Like, so it was just, you know, maybe I'm nitpicking, but I just kept thinking to myself, like, I've watched this dude walk through exploding buildings and like step on moving trains that explode and step on like, you know, tanker trucks that explode, and just, he's walked through fire before. But this one, you know, they light this wall of fire that's not that big, and so he just stands there getting buried in ice from the mountain while they're like shooting missiles at the mountain. And it's kind of hilarious because they show Godzilla just progressively getting buried in more ice, seemingly making no attempt to just walk away or shrug it off or anything. And it's just kind of laughable to me. It's a weird it's a weird what do they call it, climax. And yeah, he just stands there and gets buried, and then like the look on his face while he's getting buried, I was chuckling quite a bit. And I keep thinking to myself, he could use his heat ray, and he is radioactive. I just feel like this ice is gonna melt, or he's not. Like, I'm not really sure if I'm buying into what you're selling at this moment. To just keep it completely honest, I'm not sure I'm buying what you're selling right now. But he stands there. He gets buried in ice. And then after that, there's one moment where our main character in his plane, has, tears in his eyes, and he has he says something about Kobayashi, and there's just like a solemn moment for Kobayashi, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, and then it just cuts, and that's it. So that's Godzilla Raids again. And, yeah, it, I think it is kind of forgettable, in some ways. In some ways, it being not that good or not that great makes it more memorable because it's following the OG film. Like, it's coming right after Gojira, Godzilla King of the Monsters, like one of the best films ever, like a pretty much a 10 out of 10 for its time. And then you have this like slop. It's not quite slop, but it's just like, it's not anywhere near that level, Like, if I tell you this, if Godzilla Raids Again would have been the first film in the series, I don't know if we would have got the rest. Thank God it was number 2. So, yeah, it kind of makes me think of, I'm 40 now. When I was 18, I became a professional wrestler. And I was a professional wrestler from the time I was like 18 till I was like 25, 26, 27, like through most of my early and mid 20s. And for a while, I also like helped book wrestling shows, put the matches together, and stuff like that, like on the independent circuit and stuff like that. None of this is important, but this is important. When you're booking wrestling shows, and you're putting the matches in order, you want your first match to be like a really good match. The first impression, you want it to be like really, really, really good. And what a lot of bookers do in pro wrestling is they'll make sure that first match is like really good. It's a really great match. And then the second match can be not so good, like you can take a little bit of a risk on that second match and let the crowd kind of settle from the first, and then maybe you want to pick it back up again or whatever. It made me think of that. It made me think of like, okay, so like, yeah, this was the second match on the card. That's what it made me think of. But overall, it was fun to watch, but I will probably forget about it, except that this was the second film and this is how they followed the original. It was lighter in tone. It was, it had a lot of wholesome moments, a lot of like jovial moments, jokey moments, flirty moments. It's not taken as seriously. And now I'm just kind of interested in where we go from here. So what's the third movie? What's the third movie? Like, you would think I already know this, but I meant to look this up before I started the video, but here we are. I'm sorry. It's the budget thing all over again. King Kong versus Godzilla's next. Ooh. Yeah, in 1962. So you had the first film, and then a year later, like they get this out in a year. So I think that's another reason why, we're talking about the budget, and we're talking about how some of it seems cheap and blah, blah, blah. They got this out really quick, so I'm sure that has a lot to do with it. But then they took their time. So it's 6 or 7 years later, we get King Kong versus Godzilla. Man, huge deal historically because it was the first crossover between two major movie monsters. And the movie that really pushed Godzilla toward the more mainstream pop culture direction of the Showa era. Is it Showa or it's Showa, isn't it? Anyway, what kind of Godzilla fan doesn't know that, right? Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed listening. I cannot believe that I have ranted about this for nearly an hour. And I just started this YouTube channel to make these videos to kind of document what I think of each Godzilla film. So I'm not really doing it for views or anything. I don't really care if anyone watches, but it's just crazy. I really thought I really thought this video was gonna be shorter than the first one. But anyway, guys, thank you so much. If you did watch any of this, I hope that you enjoy it, and I will see you next time to talk about King Kong versus Godzilla. And if you want to come see me at my live streams, I stream on YouTube at Rex Sterling Live. That's gaming content, and I stream on Twitch gaming content, Rex Sterling. I'm about to start streaming Grand Theft Auto 3, so I'm gonna be streaming some like old Grand Theft Auto, like old retro games. And maybe I also thought like maybe one day, like I thought it would be really cool to stream this. So maybe one day, right? If I ever branch out of the Godzilla movies into doing like the anime or like Godzilla shows or anything like that, maybe I still have this, so maybe. Anyway, guys, yeah, bye. Hope you enjoyed it. Take care.